Welcome to the Crimsafe Endurance Countdown as we look ahead to the Pirtek Enduro Cup. This episode we're going to have a look at the Ford Performance Racing's third and fourth car essentially. That's the Bottle-O racing team of David Reynolds and also Jack Perkins in the Jeld-Wen entry. And Greg, especially that Bottle-O car the last couple of years at Bathurst, David Reynolds nearly won the race 2 years ago. He's one of these guys who has really stood up at Mount Panorama. Yeah,
he was my teammate at Kelly Racing there and showcased his abilities, no question about that. He's an interesting character and again, one of those guys that when it's working for him, when he's comfortable, he's as good as anybody in the field. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. You know, he's shown himself many times, but again, the inconsistency comes into play. And I know I've repeated myself in other episodes, but again, he's shown this year a bit of inconsistency. So we'll see how that works. I mean, they've got a big group there under the FPR banner, and you know, the two Pepsi Max cars have probably been more consistent, we would say, this year, whereas the other two cars, the Jeld-Wen car of Jack Perkins and the Bottle-O car, haven't quite had that same consistency.
Now, David will have Dean Canto again, but if you have to talk about a quintessential guy who comes out for 3 races a year and really does a job, that is Dean Canto.
Yeah, he does. You know, he loves that position. I think he really enjoys it. He enjoys working with Dave, and they fit together really well. And he just supports him as he needs to. And you know, Dean and I had a bit of a battle last year on the Gold Coast. You know, for quite a number of laps. And you know, he's a great young driver. Been around for quite a while, but he knows how to get it done.
Now, in the other car will be Cameron Waters joining Jack Perkins, a guy who is in the development series. Another guy, very quick, but still very raw.
Yeah, very raw. Watching him this year, he's made a few mistakes. He's been criticised quite heavily, and looking back at Ipswich, he got caught up in an incident which you know, brought about a bit of attention that he wouldn't have wanted. And I just think that he hasn't quite been managed as good as he needs to be. Clearly very fast. I've seen him in the last few years when he was involved with Kelly Racing as well. Incredible pace, no question about it, but you've got to manage that and you've got to know when to use it and when to hold back a little bit. But I think he'll get led pretty well at Bathurst. You know, Jack has been there many times. For a young guy, he's been up there many times. So they've got to work together, but it's got to be controlled. So we'll see what happens. But you know, Jack hasn't had a great year. It's been incredible and it's been, you know, disappointing to watch because I rate him, and he's worked with me quite a lot in New Zealand with the Super Tours and done an immense job over there. But for some reason, it just hasn't worked out this year, and I know that it's been a challenge for him. So I'm hoping that he has a better run in the Enduros.
And just finally, they're adding another car for Bathurst, and this is one of the wildcard entries, a Super Black entry,
yep.
A Kiwi operation. They're going to have Ant Pedersen and also Andre Heimgartner. Just what does adding that other car, although it's a separate garage, but it is a resource, isn't it, that's going to be had to be looked at?
It's massive, and I was a little bit surprised that FPR were going to take that on, you know, certainly this year and rush that into being a part of their operation. So putting another car, 5 cars, you know, supplying the resource for 5 cars is a massive undertaking. It's going to be a huge challenge for those guys. They don't get to do Sandown. They just straight in for Bathurst. Only 1 test day in the lead up to Bathurst. So yeah, I mean, the expectation shouldn't be very high on that. 2 guys that have never done the 1000 before, in Ant Pedersen and Andre Heimgartner. So a massive challenge, and I suppose they just need to learn from it and take it for what it is, because they're not going to be a contender.
Well, let's have a look inside what is going to be the 55, the Bottle-O car, and also the Jeld-Wen entry from Ford Performance Racing.
So Jack, heading into the Pirtek Enduro Cup, been a difficult year. How do you think your chances are going to go in the longer distance races?
Yeah, the long distance races gives us a good opportunity to get some results from the year and salvage something from what's been a disappointing start to the year, and it gives us a really good chance to, you know, really get some good results at some of the bigger events, what people remember. And you know, we're putting a lot of effort into that. I've got a good co-driver in Cam Waters who's competitive in the development series and racing these cars all year, which is a massive advantage to us. And we're similar size and get along well, and I'm pretty confident of a strong showing in the Enduros.
And the big news now is the long mini Enduro, I guess, in the development series. So you know, Cam will get valuable miles under his belt the day before.
Yeah, one of the biggest reasons why we picked Cam was because he's driving for FPR in the Dunlop series, and it's a perfect fit. So to get him more miles at Bathurst the day before the big one, it's only going to be of assistance to the Jeld-Wen car, and I'm really looking forward to having him on board. And Sandown will be a great warm-up for Bathurst, and we can't wait to get to all three of them.
So while you guys mightn't cut it in outright lap speed, could it be a case then of, you know, longer races, picking your way through, keeping your nose clean and getting a decent result that way?
Well, race pace has actually been really competitive all season. Unfortunately, our qualifying situation's been a bit of a weakness. We're not getting the most out of the car in qualifying, and starting back in the pack means we don't move a long way forward. You know, this championship is very much about qualifying, and the endurance races gives us that opportunity where, if we don't qualify as well as we'd like, we've got 500 or 1,000 Ks to pick our way through. And like I said, our race pace has often been top 10, top 15, which is where we need to qualify. But I'm confident, you know, like the last couple of Enduros, I've put together solid campaigns, driving with Gary Rogers Motorsport and Supercheap and a few other teams, and that's really what's led me to get this opportunity. So endurance racing is a bit of a strength, and you know, really looking forward to hopefully proving that at the Enduros.
David Reynolds, you guys almost pulled that race off a couple of years ago at Bathurst. That was very, very close, and you know, it was one of those ones that could have gone either way at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Like in 2012, yeah, we had a superb run, perfect day, and everything seemed to fall into place. The last stint, you know, Jamie was fuel deficient, I was tyre deficient, but had heaps of fuel, so it made, you know, a really good spectacle at the end. I think I could have done it again last year if I didn't get caught on the safety car, and in my last pit stop they short fueled me by a few seconds, so I had to come back into pit lane. I lost a lot of spots, so otherwise than that, you know, I tend to go really good there, which is a positive.
So you've had a bit of a sniff at the mountain there a couple of times now. Does that make you even hungrier?
Yeah, it makes you hungry, but I think it's just the type of race it is. You know, it's a really big day. There's a lot of pressure, and I really like the pressure. You know, I generally really want to get up and go racing at Bathurst. I wish I could race there every time. Like, it's that type of race and that type of track that you're just like 100% committed, and you know, it's just one of those awesome days you have, and you get to share it with, you know, someone you get along with. But it's a weird relationship, because you see them at the start of the day and then you don't see them for 6.5 hours till the end, but you do the same job and you watch them on TV and stuff, but you don't get to actually talk to them until right at the end of the day. So it's kind of a weird thing.
It may be a silly question, but is Sandown as big a lead up to Bathurst as it used to be? Is it as big a, you know, sounding board leading up to the mountain?
It's kind of a hard question, but personally, it's not as big as it probably used to be. I don't know why, but you know, you just think like Bathurst is Bathurst, Sandown. It's, you know, another purpose-built racetrack, bit of a country-style racetrack, but it's in the city. So I don't get the same feeling or buzz you do as Bathurst, but you know, you still want to win both of them. You want to win as many races as you can, really.
Well, that's a look inside the Ford Performance Racing 55 and 18 entries. Stay tuned here to speedcafe.com as we continue the Crimsafe Endurance Countdown.
We've been robbed a couple of times, actually.
So we had this screen installed.
For cheap alternative.
They look identical, so you think you're getting an equivalent product, and you're not.
Most Crimsafe lookalikes can pop out because they're only held in with a piece of plastic. But Crimsafe screw clamp locks the mesh and spreads the impact.
Solid and sturdy, and definitely instills a lot of confidence in us.
If you pay for what you get, Crimsafe is definitely the way to go. Better off paying the extra and getting the better product.
Because if it's not Crimsafe, it's not Crimsafe.